A federal program aimed at the natives of Alaska is transforming a people enveloped by poverty into a people edging into affluence. Terry Drinkwater reports.
A newborn Alaska native not only comes into this world with his ancestral heritage, but also now with the certain promise of owning land and being a capitalist in the booming economy of this state. For 11,000 years before Captain Cook and the other white men came, the Aleuts, Indians, and Eskimos lived off this vast land. In 1867, when our country bought Alaska from the Russians, the treaty read in part, "All the uncivilized aboriginal tribes here will henceforth be subject to the laws of the United States." For Alaska's natives, that meant the land and the wealth no longer belonged to them, but to the white man. Finally, in 1971, Congress rectified that, saying that Alaska's first citizens did have legitimate claims. More than 40 million acres of land and close to $1 billion are being returned to the Aleuts, Indians, and Eskimos. Thus, today, Alaska's natives are once more important people here. One of their leaders reflects back and looks ahead.
We had some political power when we had no capital. And of course, now we've had a pretty substantial injection of capital, and that makes it easier to talk to people.
Are you getting what you want?
Well, generally speaking, yes.
The natives are in fact such a political power that Alaska's 2 senators flew all the way from Washington to Anchorage to attend this winter's Federation banquet. Thanks to the millions of dollars from the claim settlement, some natives are now relatively affluent. Most of the money and the land has gone into 13 native corporations. Their stockholders, the natives themselves, each owning a few $1,000s worth. The corporations have invested in fishing fleets, in better municipal service facilities for the villages, in housing projects and hotels. This hotel is in remote Deadhorse, Alaska, on the Arctic Ocean. It not only provides services for Eskimos and white men, but also jobs for natives, particularly for women. But by no means all native corporation investments have been wise. Some are money losers. Other projects were underfinanced to begin with, like this one, and are now all but abandoned. Nonetheless, natives are now in the mainstream of Alaska business, their capital involved in construction all over the state. They're building the new control tower at Anchorage Airport. And to cap it all off, the Eskimos, Indians, and Aleuts now own and operate one of Alaska's major banks. Most all the natives who live in the state have enrolled and are now receiving the benefits, the stock, dividends, and land from their settlement with the U.S. government. But several thousand Alaska natives and their ancestors who now live in the lower 48 have yet to sign up. The deadline is January 2nd. To qualify, a citizen must prove that he is at least a quarter Eskimo, Alaskan Indian, or Aleut. Natives in Alaska are now searching for their relatives elsewhere because the settlement is intended for all of those eligible.
It really is ours because we're determining the future of the lands on the investments that the corporations are making. So it really does belong to us. It's our inheritance.
The old postcard image of the Alaska native is a deception indeed. The dancing, drum-beating Eskimos rarely perform even for tourists anymore. And the postcards don't show you the poverty, the desolation many natives live in despite the settlements. But increasingly, they are being integrated into white man's society and economy. Some are far more likely to be found at a McDonald's than in an igloo. Hamburgers more part of their diet than elk or moose. For many, the old way of life has largely passed on with their ancestors. In this remote cemetery, the old customs are still observed. The grave flag, the brightly painted fences to keep out animals and provide the dead with a small touch of warmth in a cold and lonely place. To preserve the heritage, yet move on into a new age. That's the task facing the living. Terry Drinkwater, CBS News, in the Clutina River Valley of Alaska.